Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Jane Huml. We're going to be discussing her amazing book, Summer in Jane's Garden. Now, it's available for purchase through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, pretty much every online book reseller. Head on over there today, pick up your copies, and I'm going to tell you why you need to do that in just a few moments. Before we go any further, though, I want to take this opportunity and point out the fact that Jane was brought to our network, People of Distinction, by one of the best advertising firms in the business. And people you already know, I'm talking about Author Reputation Press. So for my writers out there listening in, listen and listen good. If you have gone through your process, you've invested some time, some blood, some sweat, and even some tears at moments creating your masterpiece, but now you've done it. It's all paid off. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Although one thing you forgot is now that you've created that book, you're going to need some help moving it. Well, if that's you, give yourself the best gift you could possibly give and contact ARP. I'm telling you, they're one of the best in the business to do it, and this is exactly what they specialize in. So head on over to authorreputationpress.com today and gather all of the ways that their fantastic team is going to help you do just that. And listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have Jane here on the line. Now, the moment you start to do some research on her book, Summer in Jane's Garden, you have an idea of the discussion we're getting ready to have. Now, this book is layered, people. This book is nuanced. From a micro perspective, when you're traveling along this magnificent journey with your children, they're going to learn about gardening. They're going to learn about the different seasons that we go through. So it's very educational and informative from that perspective. But it has a much stronger foundation if you view it from a macro perspective. When you back up and you look at it from a wider viewpoint, you understand that what we're talking about here is taking care of the world, is that we all have our part to play in taking care of Mother Nature. This book, I'm telling you, is magnificent for what it's going to be able to teach your children, and also certain lifestyle habits that they can incorporate as they grow. I'm telling you, this is something you're going to want to add to your shelf, and at the end of the day, Jane is the expert. It's her book. She's written it. She's going to be able to articulate it much better than I ever could. So do me a favor, sit back and strap in. Jane, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Jane, it's a true pleasure. I think what you've done here, or what you've embarked upon with this book and the subject matter, I really do think it's something that's going to churn some heads. It's something that's really going to be able to shift perceptions, because we know it seems like every political cycle, we're talking about global warming, and we're talking about the earth and weather changes and things that we as human beings are doing to affect that. Well, I love this book because it talks from a child's perspective and teaches them at a very early age how to take care of the world, how to do their part. And I think that's very, very beneficial. So thank you for writing the book, and thank you for being here again to discuss it. Before we jump into the words on those pages, Jane, tell us a little bit more about yourself. Who is Jane Huml?
Well, I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. Went to school here, went to college here. We lived in Connecticut for about a dozen years, and then moved back. And I taught school for a while, and raised 3 children, boys, and I enjoy working in the yard. I've always enjoyed playing in the yard.
There you have it. Well, Jane, that makes one of us, okay? Because I remember growing up, my mother was a huge gardener, so we would always be in the backyard helping her with the gardening. And I'm not going to lie, as a child, as a teenager, it was definitely not my fondest memories. I'll just say that.
I agree, because as a teenager and stuff, it's more work,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not enjoying it. But as you get older and think as you get younger and you're playing the dirt, and you realize that the dirt is the closest that we are to our original makeup, because God made us out of dirt.
Mm.
If you remember your readings.
I love that. Listen, people, you could take that notion to the bank. Jane, without further ado, The Anchor is all about your book, Summer in Jane's Garden. Tell us a little bit more about your narrative.
After gardening for years and years and years and years, and put the scarecrow up and put an old dress on her. And one of my neighbors named her Lisi Anthus. Scarecrow comes to live in my garden. Actually, as we know, somebody plants a scarecrow there. And it tells about everything that the scarecrow would see: the spring flowers, the summer flowers, the summer garden, everything that happens, change of the seasons, what grows and what comes around to eat the vegetables. We have squirrels and we have mice and a few deer.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about who comes, visits, and sometimes it rains. Well, we need rain.
Right.
Helps the flowers grow. Then we need sunshine to help them grow bigger and everything that comes. The blue jays, the birds, and of course 4th of July comes. That's pretty close to the middle of summer, but not much. Then the days start to get warmer, and then the days start to get cooler. So it just kind of describes what's happening.
Jane, let's cover inspiration next. Now, you've mentioned a number of times you love to be out in your garden yourself, right? So this is a hobby of yours and something that you've always just immersed yourself in. So I understand from an inspiration perspective why you would feel compelled to comprise this narrative. But I also understand, Jane, that this could have been something that you verbally told those around you, or something that you wrote that you kept on your personal shelf. Well, Jane, you didn't do that, right? You took it a step further. You wrote the book, and then you published it for the masses. What inspired you to do that?
Just came that one day I should write all this stuff down, in the garden, watching the garden, been working in the gardens for years and years and years. And just thought I'd write it down one day. We had this scarecrow, got named Lisi Anthus. It's a perennial flower that blooms in a variety of colors and is native to the Southern American prairie. So I guess I must have found that out, made a good name.
There you have it. People, I'm telling you, Amazon, Barnes & Noble are where you have to go. Summer in Jane's Garden is the title you got to pick up, and Jane Huml is the author you need to thank for bringing it to your table. Jane, follow-up question that I want to go into, and still sticking with the concept of inspiration, but when we talk about creative writing, was this a hobby of yours growing up? Were there artists that inspired you? Talk to us a little bit more about where that love for writing comes from.
Never. I never liked to write. It was one of those things that got assigned in school, and we had to, they gave us a topic and we had to write it. And I did the best I could, and fortunately, those skills were there because I always got good grades. But it was just one of those things that happened, and I keep thinking I should follow up this with another story and extend it. And perhaps one day I will.
Jane, we hope you do, because this book, Summer in Jane's Garden, is something special to behold, and we're here for it. Follow-up question here, curiosity from myself, Jane, but what would you say was a highlight for you in writing the book? Or if not a highlight, something that surprised you that you weren't anticipating before you began on the journey?
Well, I really had never thought about publishing the story, a story, and never thought of myself as a writer. I've always been mother, taking care of property, and I've always enjoyed working in the yard and getting my hands dirty. Like, I'm going to put it this way. When you play in the dirt, you're the closest to what we've been made out of. Because I think I've told you this before, if you remember your stories in the Bible, God made us out of the dirt of the earth.
Yeah.
And so playing in the dirt, we're as close as we are to our native environment, to what we're made out of. And that's why it feels so good. Get our hands dirty and dig in the dirt and plant flowers and watch things grow.
Absolutely. No, I love that notion. Jane, diving down the rabbit hole here, but if you could magically enter the world of your book and you can put yourself and relive any particular moment in the book, which page would you choose to land on and why?
Because it goes through and it describes whatever she sees and all the creatures and all the herbs and the flowers and everything that grows in the garden. And, of course, then she meets the neighbor, Clyde, the neighbor's scarecrow, and they become friends. So it's a story about that, too. About making friends with everyone, taking care of the world. And, sometimes it rains, sometimes the sun shines, sometimes it gets really hot.
Right.
It just pretty much describes summer, and I think it gives kids an idea about nature. Mm-hmm. The sun shines, the rain comes, flowers grow, and things die when it gets cold. Over the season.
Jane, switching gears here, but now let's go into more of your writing process. Paying it forward for other writers out there listening in. Jane, how do you handle self-doubt and maintain confidence in your writing abilities?
I have no idea. I got lucky on this one. I just got lucky on this one, and I keep thinking I should get busy and go after another book. But the topic's not coming up right now. When the topic comes up, then I'll get creative and write it again.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, all artists can relate to that, right? I mean, sometimes you get writer's block. Sometimes you just kind of hit a wall waiting for that inspiration to arise. We understand that.
Sometimes you don't even think about it. The inspiration arrives, and you don't realize it. Mm-hmm. And, my sister illustrated this. She's the artist. And so we all came together. I wrote the story. She gave her the story. She wrote, made the pictures. And that's the way it came out.
Absolutely.
Got lucky.
Well,
Still waiting for the next one.
Another question here as a way of paying it forward for writers, but Jane, are there any words of wisdom that you can relate to new writers? Someone out there listening in that's just now embarking upon their writing journey. What are some words of wisdom that you can offer them?
Go over it, correct. Make sure you're all correct as far as your grammar and whatever you learned in school, and go after it. Just find your publisher and do it.
Absolutely. Well, listen, editors are so valuable. I don't care if you're writing a paragraph or if you're writing 1,000 pages. Going over and checking for grammatical mistakes and different sentence structures is so key to any literary work. I love that piece of advice. And then the follow-up is Listen, people, sometimes ain't nothing to it but to do it. If you have that desire, put the pen to the page and just go. Because I promise you, here's the thing. There's a whole wide world out there. There's a community. There is an audience base. There is a reader for your content. You just got to take the initiative, write it, and put it out there. I love that advice.
And that's the trick, is putting it out there, because then you have to research and find out who's your publisher going to be, how you find that. And what you do is you go to the library and look at all the books and see which one has the most. And when I came here, I went through, and it's published by Christian Faith Publishing Incorporated, and apparently I went through the library, and that's the one I found the most of.
Oh, there you go.
That's where I went.
There you go. The education doesn't stop, people. Jane is filled with gems. I love it. You know what I love even more is we're at the end of the interview now. We have covered so much information, yet somehow we've barely scratched the surface. I'm telling you, people, you know where you got to go. Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Pick up your copies of Summer in Jane's Garden by Jane Huml today. This is a wonderful adventure that you're going to want to embark upon with your children, and it's an even better gift for you to get for someone else to add to their shelf so that they can embark upon it with their children as well. Jane, this has been a true pleasure, an absolute delight. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
And thank you for having me.